Just kind of share with us some of your favorite memories or favorite experiences while you were there.
Hi. I'm a little emotional because it was hard to watch everything all over again. It's a good emotion, and I really want to go back. I think the biggest part for me was the kids, of course, and working in the Safe Park and seeing all those babies out there and knowing that we can make a difference as far as even cutting the grass and making their whole area safer for them, and they can come out from their villages no matter how far they have to walk, and they know that they can get a meal and have a safe area to be in. And that was huge. Okay. There's more, but I get nervous.
Well, obviously, my most memorable moment was the very last thing that you saw on the video. That child touched my heart from the minute I saw him on the Sunday when we got there. And besides that would be going into the villages and meeting the men and the women in the villages, and a special woman by the name of Maria, who you saw putting the mud on her home, and how even while I was there, my hands were bleeding because it was winter, and I just made a decision then and there that my hands were nothing compared to what her hands have to do every day, and to massage her hands and to pray for her and her mother, Selena. It was very, very memorable.
My favorite memory was when we went to the villages. We went to go see this one lady, and she was a preschool kindergarten teacher, and they had this big hut that all the children went into, and there were, it was like her with 25 other students or children or something like that, and where she was so proud of her classroom that she had found this rolled up cardboard box and made lesson plans, and it was so organized and clean, and she had made a television, it was like a project scroll, and when she turned it, it was a television for the children that they made, and just how creative that she was to come up with all these ideas with really nothing to do. That was very interesting. My favorite moment, though, is when we were in Johannesburg, or not Johannesburg, whenever we went to the flea market area to go shopping, we went in one of the stores, and the ladies in there, they asked us where we were from. We told her we were from America, and she was like, "Do you guys know the Kardashians?" No way, do you know this? I know, we watch them on TV, just like you guys. We're not from New York. Everyone there, they think you're from New York or Florida, which is really funny too.
I have to agree with Patty. I had a lot of fun, a lot of different experiences over there. I saw a lot of what is beyond poor in my eyes. But one of my most memorable moments was it was definitely playing football, American football, with a little boy. I had to call him Superman because I didn't know how to say his name. But he was, whenever I got there, he was just very kind of depressed and off on his own. He didn't want to interact with anybody. He was looking for that guy, not girl response, I guess. He didn't want to be lovey-dovey or whatever. But I got talking to him, and he let me know he liked American football and rugby. And I don't know how to play rugby, but I watched it for the first time. And we went outside. He had this ragged little football, and I think we probably threw football maybe 8 hours of my trip. But that was one of my most memorable moments. And then, of course, my bromance with his brother. That was definitely one of my high points. And not the plane ride. The plane ride is definitely not one of my memories that I want to keep.
my most memorable time would necessarily be summarized as a moment, but just kind of all together. I want to always remember the way that the orphans and the people that we came in contact with made me feel. They always made us feel welcomed, and they were overjoyed, and they were so happy. And like everyone said, these people have, I mean, we would consider these people to have nothing, but they are so full of life, and it has to be God's love and just compassion and joy. So I want to always remember that because they really felt like we were all a part of a family. Coming from children who don't really have a family, it was interesting to see how they made us feel like we were all one family.
Good. And then, so next question, and you can pass it back to Patty. I want to start with her on this one specifically. You know, the question is, what really touched your heart? And sort of twofold, you know, how has this trip impacted your life while you were there and now? Like Patty said, looking back, thinking about it. You know, I watched that video so many times, obviously putting it together, but then afterwards, I don't know, to me, that was awesome, just to be able to relive that. But just so you know, Touching Hearts, just to explain the name, it's actually a non-profit ministry in 2009 that was literally given to me. And without going into any detail, a good friend of mine called me up one day, said, I need to meet with you. He had this big file, like all these files, he put it on my desk and said, I founded this non-profit ministry many years ago. I've never used it. I feel God is telling me I should give it to you. Now, has anybody ever looked into, you know, the paperwork for a non-profit? So that was a huge gift. Now, for a long time, it was sort of, okay, Lord, what do we do with this? But so Touching Hearts is really just one spoke of our church. It is a separate entity, but it's part of the bigger church, part of the bigger vision. And right now, it's what we use for missions, and specifically to touch hearts in South Africa. Now, Patty, I don't know if you remember this, but there was one day when we were at the Safe Park and we drove away and somebody kind of showed you something. Remember that moment when the guy kind of, when he said, you touched my heart?
Oh, when you did that.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of tell us what you saw there and how did that make you feel?
I didn't really know what this meant when he was doing this as we were driving away. And it means that what that means is that you have touched my heart. And it just, I couldn't believe that. I'm so emotional about this. It was just in that moment, it was just a miracle for me. And it changed my life, just right there, it changed my life. It makes me feel like I want to go back and like I want to make this a mission, a life's mission for me. And I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I am definitely going to stay in touch and work on what I can do about it. And sponsoring a child is going to be extremely important for me. I feel like I want to sponsor them all, but you know how that goes. What was the other question?
You can ask just kind of how it impacted your life.
Yeah, that's the change that I see for my future. I know that I was telling Steve at one point, I was able to take my mom on a cruise a year ago, and that was big for us. And we went and we swam with the dolphins, and that was awesome. And it was just a beautiful trip. I mean, it had its moments, but I mean, the whole thing, being out on the water with God and all of that was awesome. This trip is no comparison. It's like night and day. That whole thing was for me, I guess, and this was for them. And I'm in love with this so much that that's what I want to do for the rest of my life when I retire.
agree with Patty. We've gone on trips before and they're fun. And you go here and I'm telling you guys, when it's 31 degrees outside, it's 31 degrees inside. It's cold. It was very cold. And we
Tell them about the frog.
yeah, we didn't have heat in our room. We didn't have hot water in our room the first night as well for me and Mackenzie and Grandma Dot. And so we went over to Brittany and Latoya's to take a shower. Grandma Dot was in the bed. I came in. There's this frog in my living room floor, and I'm like, Lord Jesus. So, what else? But we, the frog stayed in the trash can all night. We scooped him out the next morning. And God is good. We had heat. We never had heat. I don't know why I'm on heat. But we had hot water and a flushing toilet the next day because we didn't have that when we first got there. But it's life-changing. And you do work for others, and they're so appreciative, and they're so loving, and they're so giving. For me, and the memory that I will have forever is watching my daughter as well, and being able to experience this with her. And my mother-in-law, who has been on like 5 or 6 foreign mission trips, but ever since Mackenzie was very small, she's always been giving and loving and a big heart. And Scott and I used to always joke and say our daughter's going to end up in the Peace Corps and she'll give all her clothes away. She's going to end up the missionary who starves to death because she gave all her food away. And she does. When we were passing out shoes in the village, one girl could not find her size, and my child took her tennis shoes off. And I'm like, well, baby, what are you going to wear, the rest of the week? She said, it doesn't matter. But to see her heart and to know how much God is going to use her, no matter where she is.
I want to jump ahead. I don't want to give it away, but the one that said, my dream is to make people happy, that is Mackenzie. And we saw that everywhere. The houses that we stayed, there's a couple that oversees that cook the food. They had their grandchild there. And yet Mackenzie being there, that was the highlight of his week. He really attached himself to her, but not just him, everywhere. And then she's also one with the cooking green, just FYI, if you need a cake or, see Mackenzie. She will make you happy.
I think when I first went over there, when I looked at the pictures of the children, I always thought, I just want to bring them back. I want to bring them back with me. But then I realized when I got there in the orphanage, they are so well taken care of and so happy. The mamas that are assigned to each of the group of children there, they take care of them and they have a place to sleep and people who care for them and help them with the things that they need. And they are so joyful for just the smallest things. The children there, in America, you give them a phone or even, I don't know, they're just very content in there. The children who, when we first went, they didn't talk any, but when you started singing and dancing, they were all about that. They wouldn't speak a word of English to you, but they would sing every word to every song that they knew. And it was amazing how their personalities would just come out and how happy they were with simple things, which was amazing to see that. And we didn't have heat, but him and his roommate Pierre, they bought heaters, and they had heat, and everyone else was very cold. And no water, no problem.
What she failed to tell you guys is I offered my heater to her. She can't wear her clothes away. She refused to take it. She just wanted to tough it out and I guess sleep on. But it definitely impacted my life. It gave me a newfound respect for the things I have. It's something I would definitely love to take my spoiled child to. He doesn't really realize how some people have it. But it's been a life-changing thing. It's something I want to do again. I definitely want to go for a longer term. I didn't feel 7 days was long enough for me. I would have liked to have seen maybe 3 to 6 months and just really get into it. But it's different. It's something everybody, I feel, needs to do, should do. I think people would be a lot more appreciative in the States. Just something as simple as nice shoes that I have probably 20 pairs over my closet. These guys don't have none, and those that do have ones with holes and just all kinds of just bad quality items. Everything's worn out. They need a lot. I can see that. And there's a lot that I took for granted whenever I came, or before I left. Whenever I came home, I looked at my life and I was like, I got hot water, I have water pressure. It's not cutting off mid-shower or turning cold mid-shower. Because I don't know what they call that hot water heater they had. My food is better here, definitely better. And the only thing that I would really like to see in people is just the attitude. These people had nothing and would give me the shirt off their back. Even though it had holes and was worn out, they would have gave it to me if I asked for it. And it was just an experience I think everybody needs to have.
I think taking these trips, well, this was my third, so I always hear the same thing. Often we think we're going to help others and they're going to get something out of it more than we are, but then God uses the opportunity to speak to us like you've seen. And what I always hear is you live a life of convenience. Everything is convenient for you. You know, we have 24-hour shopping. We can shop online. We have access to clean water. That's not really even a perk. That's just kind of something that you expect, right? Clean water, running water, electricity, things like that. So it always, these trips always kind of remind me that that sometimes we take things for granted, or I do, and that that blessings from God are sometimes these conveniences. I mean, a blessing from God doesn't have to be expensive and shiny and things like that. It can just be joy and spending time with family and making friends and things that aren't necessarily tangible.
I like that, and I think, so the bigger message is perspective. Seeing life in perspective. When you do something like this, and maybe even you hearing this morning about it, it helps us to put our lives in perspective. So let me speak to myself, for myself. This reminded me that I have everything I need. I have more than I need. Now, I might not have everything I want, but that's a different story. And it's always about perspective. I thank God for everything I have, and this is also a reminder that it's all a gift from Him, and it reminds me to just hold everything with an open hand. Because the same God that provides for me in a specific way right here in America, that same God is providing for somebody who literally lives in a mud hut. We saw that lady building it there. And I always go away with the question, well, how do they live? But this Bible has to be applicable to people of all walks of life, and it is. And the promises that we talked about today, it's applicable, it's good news wherever you are in life. So I hope you've been encouraged. First of all, let's just give God a hand for the team. Let's praise Him for what they've done.